It is time to get out of pocket. I'm your host, Michael Davis, for Out of Pocket right here on Boom Broadcasting. I'm super excited to join you guys, be with you guys, hang out right before the weekend. Sorry about missing yesterday, was a little under the weather, but I am back full health and ready to talk some sports. And it was very disappointing that I couldn't do a show yesterday because we had a whole Thursday night football game to talk about. We had Boston College, Virginia Tech to talk about. Chris, he predicted Boston College would be pretty good. They were not very good yesterday, even though they were about to come back against Virginia Tech. It was like they were down 28-0, and then all of a sudden Boston College starts storming back. Then they're only down 28-21, and then Virginia Tech's like, oh, yeah, we got to wake up. But we were going to preview that yesterday, but we were also going to talk the big college news. Now, later on, I did mention Chris, the host of Dugout Debrief. He's going to be on to talk some baseball. And as of now, he and Podcast Smitty are duking it out for the number one viewed show on Boom Broadcasting this week. Podcast Smitty debuted his show on Tuesdays and Fridays. He's now at twice a week. And Chris, in the thick of the AL-NL Championship Series matchups, he dropped his episode yesterday, and they're duking it out right now. Who's going to be the most watched show? They're doing awesome work, but Chris will be on a little bit later to talk more about what's happening with the baseball playoffs and to preview some college football picks, and me, him, and Jay with a little read-in as well. But I was most upset that we didn't get to talk about the big news yesterday. Tony Bennett, the Virginia head coach, has retired from basketball, from coaching. And I'm not going to lie, this came as a really big shock. One of my really good friends, Ethan, he is a huge UVA fan. Me, him, and his dad had the great opportunity of going to Cameron Indoor last year and watching Tony Bennett, watching the Virginia Cavaliers. And it was a lot better for me because Duke actually won that game. But I did not see this one coming. It did not feel like Tony Bennett was on the edge of retiring. So I'm pretty surprised at how this went down, especially at this point in the season. Like, we are so close. We are so close to the college basketball season's kicking off, or not even kicking off. It's a tip-off. It's a tip-off. It's basketball. It's basketball. Can't wait to talk about the football weekend that's kicking off with college football and NFL. We'll talk with Chris on that, and we'll also have Jason in for the NFL picks. But with basketball season about tip-off, with everything college basketball releasing their magazine to open up the season, I can share that link on my socials if you're interested in that. Why? Like, why now? Tony Bennett and UVA seem like an easy dub, easy win for them. And I was wondering why. Ethan and I were talking back and forth about what this does mean for UVA and why potentially he did decide to retire effective immediately.
What's up, guys? Let's just go ahead and call it what it is. It's technical difficulties. Having to join via my phone in the most backwards kind of way possible. How crazy is this? Um, guys, this is literally, what my life is, right? This is why we do live streams, because how crazy is that? That my laptop go down, my microphone go down, my camera go down. If you guys can hear me, let me know on our YouTube channel. Drop it in the comments. I would love to know if you can hear me now, if you can see me now. I'm getting the go ahead from one of my guests here in just a few moments. We'll have Chris DeLuca in. Also, this is going to be the most stable connection possible. So if we do have technical difficulties continuing, please bear with me. I'll also try to find a stand to put my phone on, but this was this is live. This is what we do. So gotta talk about Tony Bennett. Don't know what point I left off with you guys at, but this caught me out of left field. It really did. So unfortunately, that's what we're looking at right now with Tony Bennett uh, retiring from UVA and talking about the state of college basketball not being what it used to be, and that's very unfortunate. Coach K was able to adapt when college changed from players staying 3 to 4 years to being one and done. And I think Tony Bennett did a really great job when it came to coaching at UVA. A phenomenal job. Super shocked to hear the news of Tony Bennett no longer being at UVA. So that is super tough. Ethan, sorry about being a UVA fan of yourself, but it's what happened. So I do get to welcome into the host of Dugout Debrief, and thankfully, if my internet goes down, I'll let him do a solo right there. But hopefully that doesn't happen, because I've been looking forward to having this conversation with the Dugout Debrief host, Chris DeLuca. Man, Chris, it is awesome to have you on in the show today. How are you doing, my friend?
Not too bad, not too bad. Yesterday was a travel day, so I'm a little bit tired still, but I got a good night's sleep, and here we are. Got the Dodger game on here to my right. It's not the best start so far, but we're going through it. We're pushing.
We're going through it. We're pushing. We're also having a lot of technical difficulties today, so I'm gonna definitely let you take most of the lead right here, as we kind of still sort out these technical difficulties. Right. Let's talk about the World Series, man. First, I'm super excited of all the stuff you're doing with Dugout Debrief. Um, the show continues to be really awesome. Um, but your Dodgers are in it. I know you're hoping for good stuff from them. How do you feel they've performed so far in the championship series?
I mean, great. Honestly, great outside of game two. It was pretty much ideal. We had obviously the 33 consecutive scoreless inning streak that tied the 62, I believe, Orioles World Series team for the longest playoff scoreless streak. Ohtani was amazing with runners on. He was essentially going, batting 800 with runners on or runners in scoring position. And finally, he hit a solo shot last night, but we're okay if where he's doing with runners on. Currently, right now, we are down 3-1. As I just look over to my right, Shohei Ohtani, speaking of the devil, is up right now. He got on in the first inning, and he could bring in the tying run with a home run, or bring in within one if he could hit a base hit. So we will see.
Hey, we'll see. Right now, you mentioned the Dodgers are playing right now. They're currently down 3-1 in this game. Top of the second, 2 outs to the Mets right now. But the Mets are down 3-1 in this series. And I'm hoping, dude. Like, You got the Dodgers banner right behind you. I have a very similar one for the Dallas Cowboys. And you've been doing great stuff. I'll be honest, like seeing your Dodgers do as well as they are, seeing Shohei Ohtani as well. And then you look at Mouthing Off with Mike. He does the nightcap for us. He does a lot of content, does a lot behind the scenes too with Boom Broadcasting. He's a Yankees fan. And Aaron Judge, dude, it feels like the series that the world wants is Yankees Dodgers. Do you think that's best for baseball?
Yes, 100% I do. I think that an MVP versus MVP match would be amazing. One point I will make is I believe that a lot of people on either side of the coasts are not going to be, or sorry, not on either side of the coast, are not going to be as big of a fan of it as either just baseball fans in general or again, just people outside of it. Because I could see people, the Chicago fan base, obviously Boston's going to be rooting for the Dodgers if we are to make it, if we are to make the World Series. But I think it will be very regional. It's the two biggest sports markets. I will say that New York's is a little bit different because there's the two baseball teams right within the same city. Obviously, LA has another team, but it's in Anaheim, so that how much that counts is debatable. But yeah, overall, I personally think it's great for the game, builds expansion. And as I've mentioned on my show and I've mentioned on here before, Ohtani is incredible, not just to American baseball fans and sports fans, but also Japanese sports fans. I mean, they're staying up till 6, 7 a.m. To watch Ohtani, just to watch him play, which I think is awesome. So it expands the world market in general. Dude,
and I think it's awesome. Like, especially, at our age, there's not a lot of people who respect the game of baseball. And I didn't until my dad started taking me to local minor league games, the Hickory Crawdads. And I was like, oh, where are these players going to end up? They ended up with the Rangers. So I'm like, okay, bet I'm a Rangers fan. But having guys like Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani, I think are really great for baseball, especially Ohtani with that global reach. Dude, I'm excited. If we get this World Series matchup, and this is even coming from a Rangers fan who got to celebrate a World Series last year, I feel like this could be the biggest World Series in quite some time.
It'd be the biggest, and honestly, I would say it would be the biggest since Cleveland and Chicago. While those aren't the biggest market, at least one of them isn't. That was just hype because it was a streak from the 40s versus a streak from the early 1900s. But I would definitely say that'd be the most hyped World Series since 2016 if this does happen, which again, it is still up in the air.
Yeah, and Jason's comment right now, you guys can be a part of the live stream as well. That's why we do it. So we can experience technical difficulties like today has happened. In addition, we want to hear from you guys, and Jason will be on here in a few minutes at the top of the hour to talk more of the NFL action and predict those games. But Chris, we got you in here. We got some college football action as well to talk about. Dude, I'm super excited for this weekend. I'm also super excited for tonight as well. FSU, Florida State is at Duke, at Wallace Wade Stadium. I'm super excited about it. And that's one of the games that is there for the taking. Your team hosts Kansas State. So I'm hoping that both of our teams come out with a victory, but how do you think the Blue Devils do tonight in a really important ACC matchup?
I was actually on the cusp with this because I'm not going to say Duke's wins are not good, even though UNC has fallen apart essentially by the seams. They still have talent there. This is going to be a big test, but Florida State just barely even looks like a Power 4 team, if I'm being honest with you. Is DJ still starting? I forgot to look that up for the program.
I think he is,
because they were talking about benching him. I know.
I haven't heard anything one way or the other about if Florida State's going to bench him or not.
Yeah, but he's a broken quarterback, and I've talked about that before. His footwork, his decision making, he's just fully broken. And I think as long as Duke's defense can just be sustainable, he'll make mistakes naturally. He just kind of does, especially under pressure. So just pressure him with the edge rushers, you know, and a good combination of man and zone coverage. And honestly, he'll throw at least 2-3 picks. I can almost guarantee you.
Dude, I'm really enjoying what Manny Diaz has done for this Duke defense. He used to coach in Miami. He was the defensive coordinator the last couple of years for Penn State, and really how he's turned what Mike Elko was building here before he left for Texas A&M, like what he's done with this defense is really, really impressive. Duke, Florida State, going to be a tough one. It's going to be close. Duke's currently favored by 3, but I need to see Malik Murphy start using his legs. Florida State hasn't done great, but I don't want it to start tonight against Duke. I got Duke. But, dude, your team, a big one as well, the West Virginia Mountaineers. Probably, let's be honest, the only Mountaineer team that's probably doing good right now. I'm not going to talk about our App State team, mainly because App State is on a bye. They get to rest and hopefully figure out how to play football. But the Mountaineers host the 17th ranked Kansas State team. Dude, how do you feel about that one? Because that is a big time matchup for your program.
Must win. After last week, I will be tailgating that tomorrow. I have at least not bought a ticket yet to the game. I might just go see if random people are selling them for not $70, but I will be at Milan Puskar Stadium tomorrow night, afternoon into night to tailgate it at least. But with that being said, going back to the topic at hand is we need to start how we did in the first half or so, first quarter at least, against Iowa State, even though the wheels fell off in the second half. We need to still bring that energy. Garrett Green needs to play like he did in the Oklahoma State game, because that was honestly the only game where I was like, wow. Like, obviously, we blew out UAlbany. That was our throwaway. But Penn State game was embarrassing. Pitt game, honestly, is sickening. And the Oklahoma State game was the biggest high of the year so far. And I think that if we could knock them out, we can still, I mean, the Big 12 is close. I'm not going to say that we're going to win it or anything, but we could get a more respectable bowl game. I mean, it's really hard because at the beginning of the year, heck, there was a possibility we could have grabbed a 12 seed or something like that in the football playoff. We could have upset a few, but at this point, I don't think that's really realistic. But if we can knock out Kansas State, we could jeopardize their odds to make it, which that's what the Mountaineers do. We love to do that. Plus, they're going to be playing, they'll be playing in one of the harder places to play in the conference now. So,
dude, that will that'd be cool. I hope that your team pulls it out. Also, Mac, keeping us honest here, said Florida State's supposed to start a different quarterback. So I guess Brock Glenn is the option with the Seminoles. Maybe I don't want to play Brock Glenn. Maybe I'd rather play DJ and
ukulele.
I was about to say like ukulele or something like that. I'm not even going to try pronouncing his name. I barely got Victor Wembanyama.
Was right. Like had to say it about 10 times.
It's quite that time on Out of Pocket. And before we welcome Jason from Sideline Savants here in a few minutes, we got other action. It's not just our teams playing in college football this week. It's a lot more than that. You got Notre Dame at Georgia Tech. Notre Dame playing an ACC Georgia Tech team that's actually doing surprisingly good right now. Notre Dame is 12th in the nation at 5-1, but Georgia Tech is at 5-2. Between King and Haynes and all the stuff they're doing on the ground, it's not going to be an easy game for Notre Dame. It's actually at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. And while they have very similar records, Notre Dame's a team that's ranked. They're favored by 14 points. But, dude, I feel like this Vegas got it wrong with this spread. Like, I would take Georgia Tech if I was just betting solely on the spread. How do you feel about that game?
I think it is closer to. I agree with you, Michael. I mean, both teams are really good. I mean, Notre Dame is playing a team in a conference that they should be in. My opinion on how everybody should be in a conference, and they should be in the ACC like they are in basketball. That's a whole side argument for another day. I think Notre Dame will pull it out, but maybe by 10 or so. I would say 10-7, maybe one score at most, a close 2 score.
Yeah. That I totally agree, by the way. How can you be like, I get it, like Notre Dame does it so they can do that NBC deal and, play who they want to play. But like at this time of the, sports in 2024, when we have Texas and Oklahoma jumping to SEC, Pac-12 is non-existent anymore. ACC has Stanford and SMU for some reason. Why can't Notre Dame just pick a conference and stick to it?
Yes, 100%.
But that's going to be a tough game. Alabama ranked 7th in the nation at 11 Tennessee. That's a tough matchup too. I'm talking about two SEC teams. Bama is actually favored by 3 on the road. Jalen Milroe going to have to. Jalen Milroe is going to have to show up, man. I loved playing with him in a downloaded custom class in Madden a couple years ago, and I would always make the joke it's Milroe time. But dude, like a big time road game, SEC. I feel like it needs to be Milroe time for the Crimson Tide to win.
Yeah, it does. And I don't think it is going to be Milroe time. I don't think it's going to be Crimson Tide time. I mean, I see this team losing at least 2 more games, counting this one. They have a brutal schedule, and this is just the beginning of it. And if they continue to look as lethargic and discombobulated as they did against Vanderbilt or South Carolina, because let's be honest with you, they should have lost to South Carolina. They really should have. They were. I won't say that they were lucky, but quarterback play definitely played a factor on the South Carolina side toward the end of the game and some decision making. But just overall, my take on Alabama is I think they'll lose to Tennessee. I think they'll lose to LSU, and it would not surprise me if Auburn takes them too, because Auburn, no matter what, the Iron Bowl is always close. It could be the most mismatched, but it's almost always close. So I see at least a combination of those 3-4 games being losses for the Crimson Tide.
Yeah, and with Alabama, they, started the post-Nick Saban era with, 3 gimme games. Like Western Kentucky, easy. South Florida, easy. Wisconsin this year was a big piece of cake, but it was the big test against Georgia, and they actually won by a touchdown, but they came back the next week, dropping one to Vanderbilt after Nick Saban made comments like everybody goes into Vanderbilt and win, and then Alabama didn't. And then South Carolina, a lot of talent, but hasn't put it together quite yet, and has lost a couple heartbreakers at the very end of the game. And that was no exception last week. 27-25 loss for the Gamecocks. I know Bully Rye from Tap Outs and Touchdowns is super happy about that one. But yeah, dude, this is 3 big games. Like you got Tennessee, you got Missouri, who's ranked 19th, you got LSU ranked 8th. Like these 3 games are must win for Alabama if they want to stay, very close to the top of the college football playoff rankings. So you think Tennessee wins? I'm taking Crimson Tide to pull this one out, a big win on the road to get them confidence moving forward. Another game when it comes to the SEC is LSU, ranked 8th in the nation at Arkansas. People shouldn't look past this one, by the way. LSU on the road, they are favored by 2.5 points, but I could see a scenario where Arkansas gets the ground game running with Jackson and they actually upset the Tigers at home.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be close. I could see that potentially happening. I'm picking LSU just because they're better. They're the favorite overall. It's a lot to be said, especially just this SEC, just how hyper competitive that everything has been. I mean, them and Ole Miss were in a slugfest, but this is their second real test, I would say, for LSU, and they're going to a really hard place to play too. I mean, anywhere in the SEC is a hard place to play, even Vanderbilt. So.
Even Vanderbilt. Imagine that, Nick Saban. Jason bringing up Notre Dame waiting for someone to offer an insane amount of money to join conference. They like being the lone wolf team. And Jason's going to get in here in just a second because we got one more SEC game to talk about. You got the Georgia Bulldogs, 5th in the nation, 5-1. They lost that game to Alabama against Texas in Austin. Texas is favored by 4.5 points. And I know it's Georgia. I know it's going to be, a big, big test for the Longhorns. But I'm going to be honest, Chris. I don't think any team in college football has looked as good as the Longhorns do. I think people would be surprised that the Longhorns win this one by double digits.
I wouldn't say by double digits, but I would say that it's going to be a win for Texas. They by a mile are look what they did to Oklahoma. I mean, they didn't just beat them; they beat them 10 feet into the ground with that golden cowboy hat. So with Ukrainians and just all of the electric offense, and Georgia's offense is better, I would say, slightly. Obviously, they got that win over Alabama. The defense is still amazing. I think that they'll definitely pick off yours at least once or twice. I think that they'll have a couple big sacks, but I'll say Texas wins by 7. I'd say 1 or 2 score game. Not if it's double digits, not by a large amount, significant amount.
I really think if Texas comes out and wins by double digits, people are going to be like, "Whoa, this team has something."
Well, Texas goes to Vanderbilt the next week, so.
Dude, could you imagine Texas and Alabama both losing to Vanderbilt on the road?
Opportunity to do the funniest thing ever.
Dude, honestly, if that happens, Vanderbilt deserves an automatic bid into the college football playoff.
No, national title now. Just hand him the title.
Just hand him the title. Just hand him the title. Oh, man. Max saying love Notre Dame, but always overrated. Mm-hmm. He's not wrong. I've watched plenty of Notre Dame games with them and seen some great players play for the Fighting Irish, but Riley Leonard, step it up because Duke's got a good quarterback. So hoping the game goes well for the Blue Devils tonight. I'm going to be rooting for the Blue Devils from the comfort of my home this week. Don't get to go and watch a game live. Still on that high after Duke came back down 20-0 to beat the UNC Tar Heels. So shout out Podcast Smitty. Go check out not 1, but 2 episodes of Quick Hits this week. Now, I mentioned the success of Quick Hits this week. I've mentioned the success of Dugout Debrief and Chris. But there's another show that's been doing phenomenal so far. And it's the one hosted by the commish, Wayne Thomas. And he got his co-host now officially, Jason, in from Sideline Savants. He's been in the comments earlier, especially when we were having technical difficulties. But college football isn't the only one to do some games. We got the NFL predictions, including a Super Bowl rematch between the Chiefs and 49ers that we're going to be predicting. Also wanted to share, since we didn't do a episode yesterday, I was going to have Aaron from the Gridiron Address on, and we didn't get schedules lined up super well. It's been one of those days, of course. So he's actually going to be our 4th panelist on the graphic, in addition to myself, Chris, and this guy, Jason. Dude, what is up, my friend? How are you doing?
What's going on, buddy? How you guys doing today? Fantastic. Happy Friday.
Hey, happy Friday. Jason's a Yankees fan. Chris is a Dodgers fan. We also talked about what the World Series might be. Super excited to see what happens here. And so I'm going to have Aaron send in his picks for each of these games, and we'll share them live on air, and then it'll be in the graphic. We'll get a graphic made this week, finally. If we don't have any more technical difficulties, I mean, again, that's
got to be funny and put a little mustache or something, funny little mustache on him or something. Make him look. Add a little bit of character next time.
Add a little bit of character. That's what this London game needs. Let's be honest with you. We do predict these London games, even if they are going to be a snooze fest. You got the New England Patriots and Drake May playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars, this is back-to-back weeks. They're playing a game in London. And we saw Robert Saleh be fired last week for the Jets. And we already went ahead and said Doug Peterson might be next. And after losing last week to the Chicago Bears in pretty embarrassing fashion in London, which is basically the Jaguars' second home, the Jaguars have a second chance against the Patriots. And I'm going to go ahead and say this might be Doug Peterson's job on the line. I'll get you guys Aaron's picks here in just a second for this game. But Jason, how do you see that? How do you see this one going down? Patriots or Jaguars?
Well, a couple weeks ago, we had the Patriots Dolphins, and I called that one the toilet bowl because it was two really, really bad teams. Here we got 2 1-5 teams. We're going to call this the Portal Potty Bowl because I think this is a little bit worse. Doug Peterson is definitely coaching for his job right now. Again, he might not be coming home from London, but I'm going Jacksonville. I think they have a little more firepower. Look, I love Drake May. He looked good last week. 20 for 33, 243 yards, 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions against a tough Texans team. So he actually played very well. So the Patriots, I don't think they're really playing for a record. I think they're just playing to kind of get some cohesion, get this kid some reps. I think they definitely have a future. Jacksonville, what is their future? They look absolutely just lost. Trevor Lawrence looks like he's regressed. Tank Bigsby is now their big bopper right there. They got some players on that team, but just as a cohesion, as a team, the defense looks terrible. The offensive line looks a mess. Trevor Lawrence, I don't know, maybe cut the hair and try something different, but I am going Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville has enough to beat the Pats this week in this battle of really, really ugly teams.
Well, Jason's hating on the hair. He wishes he could grow out locks.
No hate. No, I used to have long hair back in the day too. No hate on him. I just sometimes you need a little change. So I think Trevor needs a little change.
We need photographic evidence that Jason sported the long hair soon.
Man, what do you expect? They got it there. It's like he has to follow their own rules.
Oh yeah.
Chris, when you got the Jags and Patriots, how do you see this one going?
Similar to Jason's take, I'm gonna roll with the Jaguars. I just think there's more firepower there. I definitely think that Doug Peterson would have probably been fired if they weren't staying there for 2 weeks in London. They did not look as good as the score said against the Bears, because I actually woke up and watched that game, which was rare for me, considering usually I'm up kind of late on Saturday nights, especially on WVU game nights. But with that being said, Bigsby looked solid. They still have some weapons in the receiving core, but as to Jason's point, Trevor Lawrence has really regressed, and that's concerning to me. But I still think that they get the win against just an incredibly lethargic Patriots offense.
Well, guys, I have a feeling that when we go on Out of Pocket on Monday, when we're back here live on Boom Broadcasting, I have a feeling that we're going to lead with the breaking news that Doug Peterson is no longer the Jaguars head coach, because I'm going to be the lone wolf. I'm going to take the New England Patriots here. Just feel like if they get the ground game going in New England, I think the Jags are a complete mess now. It's going to be toilet bowl level in London. So sorry for our international fans. This is the game you get, and it's going to be the Patriots taking it. Aaron has the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I am the only one taking the Patriots in this London game. But again, that's probably going to be a little bit more exciting, is the Atlanta Falcons hosting the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks coming into this game 3-3. Falcons, behind Kirk Cousins, are 4-2 entering this game. And it's amazing to think that an NFC South team of all teams could be 5-2 after this weekend. Aaron thinks so. Aaron's got the Falcons. Chris, who do you see wins this game?
I think the Falcons win the game. They have had a solid set of games. They even had some solid losses. I mean, just talking about a few weeks ago on Sunday Night Football when they played Kansas City, and they played Kansas City really well. They have a win under their belt against Tampa Bay team with a great receiving core, and especially at the time, a great offense. Yeah, in Seattle, I do love my boy Geno Smith, my West Virginia Mountaineer alum, who came actually for WVU football's alumni weekend last week. So happened to be on a bye week, which was really cool. So I didn't see him close up in person, but I was at the game and I got to see him, be out there for a second. So like that was cool. And obviously we root for all our Mountaineers, but I still give it to Atlanta.
He's not rooting for the fellow Mountaineer this week. He's got Atlanta. Jason, do you agree with Chris and Aaron that the Falcons get a home win?
I kind of have to. Right now, Seattle is on a 3-game slide. They're not looking very good. They started off the season really, really hot. Geno was looking great. That offense was looking great. They've just kind of fallen off. The defense has fallen apart. That offensive line looks terrible now. The run game is horrible. And I think that's really what this is going to come down to. I think Atlanta, with a good run game, I think if Bijan Robinson can get in the game, where has he been at? Again, we talk about fantasy football all the time, and he's been a huge disappointment right now for fantasy players. But I think Atlanta takes it. It's in Atlanta. The Falcons are on a great win streak right now. They have beat Tampa Bay, was a great win for them. So they're in control of that division right now. So I can see them playing very, very well in Atlanta. So give me Atlanta over the Seattle. I think Seattle's having a real tough time right now.
Well, I mean, and they're having a tough time because, no offense, Chris, Geno's thrown for 6 touchdowns, but he's also thrown 6 interceptions. So a 1-to-1 ratio, you never want that as a quarterback. So that's going to be tough. Obviously, it's not in Seattle, so that automatically give the Falcons an edge. That's why they're favored by 3 points. But we were talking earlier this year, like Seattle 3-0, but they're like, okay, you beat Denver. Okay. You beat the Patriots. Okay. You beat the Dolphins. The Dolphins were just struggling in general post Tua. But now that they're playing like real teams, you got the Lions they lost to. They lost to the 49ers.
They lost to the Giants.
To be fair, the Giants aren't a real team. But we'll let it slide. The only way I could see Seattle winning is benefiting off that bye week, but I don't think it's enough. Captain Kirk and the Falcons get a win here. It's a clean sweep on the panel. I got the Falcons. Another big game. Talked about this when I did my top quarter rankings on Outta Pocket this past Tuesday. You got the 5-1 Houston Texans at Lambeau Field, 4-2 Green Bay Packers. Chris, this is going to be huge. CJ Stroud versus Jordan Love. Dude, these two teams are playing some of their best ball right now. When it comes to Aaron and his picks, Aaron has the Houston Texans. He's backing his boy CJ Stroud. Chris, do you agree? Who wins this game?
I mean, I think it's going to be really close. I mean, CJ Stroud versus Jordan Love. And there's one big thing that we need to take into account, too, is the Texans are missing 5 defensive starters, and they're quite a stingy defense. So I'm kind of on the cusp, honestly. This is tentative. I'm going to go with Houston simply because of how electric their offense is. And the Texans defense, like I said, was stingy, but wasn't elite anyway. So as long as those bench guys can step up, honestly, this was a contender for what would be a good primetime game. This is one of the times I wish we could have like 2 or 3 Sunday night games because, Jets Steelers or Sunday Night Football this week, which obviously I like. The rest of the football world's probably outside of is probably not as excited. And there's also Kansas City and San Francisco, so a lot of good games, but I'm going to give it to the Texans. But close game, slugfest. Each team scores at least 30.
Each team scores at least 30.
I think it's going to be a barn burner.
Wow. Jason, do you agree on that high-scoring game? But also, do you agree that Houston pulls it out?
I don't agree on that. It is in Lambeau, so I'm going to give a slight edge to the Packers. I love me some Love. Again, check out Sideline Savants. Jordan Love got my game ball. He is playing phenomenal right now. That is a solid team. It is going to be a shootout. I think this is going to be a 30-point plus game. This may come down to a field goal or something crazy. happening. But I'm going to give the edge to the Packers because it is in Lambeau Field. I mean, C.J. Stroud versus Jordan Love. You can't get any better of that. Two of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL right now. How exciting is this going to be to watch? So we're just going to sit back and watch these guys duke it out. I think it's going to be bomb for bomb. I mean, I know the Texans are short Nico, but they got Stephon Diggs. They still got Tank Dell. So they still got some deep threats there. They can still get the ball down the field. So it's going to be a fun game. This is a great matchup this weekend.
Dude, it's going to be pretty awesome. The Green Bay Packers, something about them, they've played really good ball. They lost that opening week matchup against the Eagles. They lost by a couple points to the undefeated Minnesota Vikings, so nobody can fault them for those. But this is the test. Like, this is the test that you guys need to pass. You're at home against the Houston Texans that are injury-riddled. On the defensive side, as a Cowboys fan, I understand injuries on defense. Not the best thing. Not the best thing, especially when you're playing a team like the Green Bay Packers who are just clicking on all cylinders right now. I feel like Houston could lose this game and be okay. When you're in a division with the Colts and Titans and the Jaguars, they could easily lose a non-conference game. The Packers, I mean, you've already lost to Minnesota. They're undefeated. Detroit's 4-1. Chicago is 4-2. You need this win a little bit more. I'm going with Jason on this one. We're going to be split here on the panel, and I got the Green Bay Packers beating the Houston Texans, even though it'd be nice to see a fellow Texas team overcome the Green Bay Packers that have been very tough for us. Hopefully Carson will be back soon with the Lombardi Party. He's been greatly impacted by the hurricane. He's safe. He's well, but it's quite the time here in Western North Carolina. Don't forget about people. It snowed in the Western North Carolina region a couple nights ago, so people still without their homes. If you feel like you want to help donate blankets, sleeping bags, something, generators, anything of that sort, I can help get you in contact with someone who can help with that. But guys, we got not only the Packers playing a big time game, but we got their rivals, the Detroit Lions, 4-1 at the 5-0 Minnesota Vikings. Guys, it probably doesn't get bigger than this right here. Jason, when it comes to these two NFC teams, who do you think gets the edge?
Well, right now, Minnesota's coming off that bye week. I think they're going to get their first loss. Look, they're playing great football. I think they have a phenomenal team. But Detroit's coming off a high right now off of that absolute dismantling of the Dallas Cowboys. So Detroit looks really, really good. I think, again, this is going to be one of those games where they're going to go back and forth. It may be bomb for bomb with St. Brown, and then you got JJ on the other side. So I think this is going to be, again, another marquee, great game. Again, you got, Sam I Am Darnold's playing really, really well. Goff, really, really good. I'm just giving it to the Lions. I think they have a little bit of a better team. Plus, they're playing on an emotional high right now. Their sack leader and their defensive superstar breaking his leg in gruesome fashion. I think that defense is going to play their butts off for him because I guarantee he's going to be making some comments. He's going to be probably on social media hyping his guys up. I'm sure he's going to make some phone calls hyping them up. So watch the Detroit Lions come out and try to smack these guys in the mouth because, again, these games, it is amazing how that NFC division has just blew up with the Vikings and the Packers and the Bears. Oh, my. It is unbelievable. So, but give me the Lions in this one. I think they just got a little too much. I think they're going to give Sam Darnold some fits.
Man, and Jason, you're not alone. Aaron, the host of the Gridiron Address, has taken Detroit as well, even after they lost a NFC Defensive Player of the Year candidate in Aiden Hutchinson last week. Chris, are you agreeing with Jason and Aaron about this NFC North matchup?
I really am. I'm going to be the outlier though, and I'm like I said, I'm going to pick the Vikings. I will be the one outlier, honestly. And honestly, like I said, losing Aiden Hutchinson was really big. He will still be there in support. He'll still be there in spirit. But honestly, I think it's less of that. And I think that the Vikings had some quality wins. I'm more basing this assumption off of some really high quality wins. They beat the Texans. They beat Green Bay. So solid wins against really, really good teams, and especially also that they're at home. But I think it's going to be super close. I could definitely be wrong on this one, but I'm more picking this based off of past performances. Obviously, unfortunately for you, the Lions kind of didn't do the nicest thing to the Cowboys. So let's just say that Dan Campbell, I guess, has a little bit of a grudge. And I think he'll honestly have a grudge against Minnesota too, but I think it'll be a really close game and Minnesota will take it.
So I promise I don't have a grudge. Okay. Detroit.
Dan Campbell does.
Detroit came out and they showed what was up. Like, they came off that bye, perfect storm. It was terrible. I've already shared my comments earlier this week on Monday's Out of Pocket about, why we were in that spot to begin with. I don't hold a grudge, but when I look at Detroit was on a bye and came out in a big matchup and did what they did to the Dallas Cowboys. After I see the Minnesota Vikings were on a bye heading into this big matchup, after I see Detroit, maybe they have a letdown game after destroying the Cowboys and getting on their high horse. In addition, you do not want to lose your best player on offense or defense, like they did with Aiden Hutchinson going up against an undefeated Minnesota Vikings team. I feel like, Chris, you're not going to be the outlier here. I'm going to side with you and pick the Minnesota Vikings to stay undefeated in that ground. But that's not the only divisional matchup we have this week in the NFC. Jason, your Giants are hosting the Philadelphia Eagles. In terms of what Aaron believes will happen, he believes the Eagles beat your team, Jason. He believes the Eagles win. I want to come to you last. I want to get Chris's thoughts first on this Eagles-Giants matchup. Who do you have, Mr. Dugout Debrief?
I'm going to go with the Eagles, and not because I think that they're a well-coached team or a team that's just has any form of cohesion. I just think that they will win kind of by default simply because the Giants are really, really struggling. And it's not anything against guys there. There are a lot of bright spots. Obviously, Tracy looked really good. And Wandale Robinson has had about 3 or 4 good games now. At least I have him I had him on my bench, obviously. So, and like I said, I'm not a Danny Dimes hater. I'll make fun of him from time to time, but
it's okay.
The Eagles are just comical. I mean, Jalen Hurts is not playing well. That really good pocket presence he had last year is gone. And Nick Sirianni, he has a personality issue. That's a whole other thing where he's sitting there doing this and pulling a Fernando Tatis Jr., except you're a head coach and you're doing it to your own fan base. And I get Eagles fans are brutal, but I sometimes some of the play calls that Sirianni has, I'm just like, this is like lower than high school level playing call.
Dang, Chris didn't hold back. He's got the Eagles. Aaron has the Eagles. Jason, it's your team. Are you backing your team, or are you losing faith in Danny?
Well, I was looking at this here. The Eagles win, loss, win, loss, win. Giants loss, win, loss, win, loss. So I think the Eagles head coach gets fired after this weekend. I think they are going to have that bad of an outing. There is trouble in Philly. I think they're going to show their true colors this weekend. Neighbors is back. So Danny Dimes has one of his stars. Singletary's back too. So he's now going to have a 2-headed monster there in that running back position. So I can see the New York Giants defense has been playing lights out. They now will soon have the sack leader on that defense too. So watch out for that Giants defense. I think they're going to get that Eagles head coach fired this weekend. Go Giants. Let's go. You heard it here.
Jason, I feel like that was a very biased take to take your G-men. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe a little bit out of pocket to say that Nick Sirianni gets fired this
There's
week.
proof. I'm telling you, I got it. Sirianni is done. There's no way he's going to get beat that bad this weekend. Let's go.
I don't know about gone, but I think the Giants hand Nick Sirianni and Philadelphia a nail. If you look on paper, the Eagles-Giants, it should be no contest. Like Saquon Barkley, his first game against the Giants, it should be a big revenge game for Saquon. I'm talking 170, 180 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. Like, that's what it should be like. But, Jason, I feel like the Giants can outcoach Nick Sirianni and this Eagles team. I don't think Sirianni puts the Giants, or I don't think Nick Sirianni puts the Eagles in the best position to win. So while Chris and Aaron have the Eagles, Jason, I'll join you and think your Giants can win this NFC East matchup, even if I wish both teams could just lose. Not tie. I want
Dexter Lawrence, 3 sacks this weekend.
3?
They're gonna kill Jalen Hurts. They're gonna come after him. This is a divisional game. The Giants don't like the Eagles. They are playing in the Meadowlands, so the Giants are at home. Again, we're going to hit them in the mouth. Again, Giants, book it.
Wow. He said 3 sacks for Lawrence. Well, hey, if it helps me win the NFL picks, I'll take it. I'll take it. And you see here on the bottom of your screen, if you're watching us on Boom Broadcasting's YouTube channel, I'm sorry for the technical difficulties we had starting the show, but those seem to be kind of resolved now, or we just put a Band-Aid over it. But we have a Super Bowl rematch, Chiefs, 49ers. It's in San Francisco. Talk about having injuries galore. The 49ers are basically walking with Band-Aids right now. Jason, who do you see winning this Super Bowl rematch?
I mean, again, if you look on paper, Purdy is actually playing better than Mahomes. Purdy so far, 1,629 yards this year, 9 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Mahomes, only 1,235 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. So not Mahomes-esque. But San Francisco has laid some duds this year, and until somebody beats the Chiefs, I can't go against them because they have this magic with him and Kelsey. Juju Smith-Schuster coming out of left field, all of a sudden being a stud wide receiver. I can't pick against the Chiefs. I think they're playing really good football right now. Coming off that bye, I can't go against them right now. 49ers, again, they have laid some duds this year. Got beat by the Rams, which they shouldn't have lost that game, but they ended up just giving up. They still have players on that team. Ayuk is still there. Deebo Samuel's still there. I think Mason is going to be able to play this weekend. So they still got players, but just I don't think they can hang with the Chiefs. Right now, I don't think anybody can hang with the Chiefs. They are the best team in the NFL right now until someone says otherwise.
Well, Jason, Aaron would disagree with you. Aaron sent his picks in earlier today and actually has the 49ers upsetting the Chiefs. And as I say upset, 49ers are actually going into this game as of right now, as of this moment that I am speaking these words, the 49ers are actually favored by Vegas by 2 points. Chris, are you siding with Vegas and Aaron, or are you siding with Jason? It seems by your face, it looks like you're siding with Sideline Savants.
I'm going to be siding with Mr. Sideline Savants because, as he said, the 49ers are just way too banged up, and they've had guys just underperform as well. Mason, even though he's been banged up, has struggled the past 2 weeks. Jawan Jennings cannot repeat that week 3 or whatever 4 performance, something like that. And Purdy is better, but I'm going to give it to Kansas City because Kansas City, yes, Patrick Mahomes is not having a classic Patrick Mahomes year, but what is amazing about the Chiefs is they don't need that. And I'm not a Chiefs fan. I don't like them whatsoever, but they deserve credit where credit is due. Travis Kelce is not having an amazing year. I mean, Worthy has been really their biggest, sole firepower kind of guy. I mean, and that's just what proves how well coached, the Chiefs are. and I think they walk away with a victory, not by a lot, but, substantial. I'd say about 1 or 2 scores.
Wow. I'll be honest. If I look at this game, I'm like, it feels pretty obvious that the Chiefs win. It's not so obvious to Aaron. It's not so obvious to Vegas, but it's the Chiefs. They're undefeated. They're on a mission right now to go back to back Super Bowls, first time in NFL history. And I honestly expected the Chiefs to come out and just, hey, let's limp into the playoffs and start turning it on late December. And I thought for the 49ers with, losing in the fashion that they did, that they would actually come out and try to be the guys, try to actually get back to that point. Especially before Brock Purdy gets his contract extension. You re-sign Brandon Ayuk. It feels like the Chiefs should win this game, but there's something about that revenge. There is something about knowing you have to play your best game. And the fact that we've seen production on the ground and Christian McCaffrey's been nowhere to be seen, I feel very confident that the 49ers are Kansas City's best test. This probably humbles the Chiefs a little bit more and actually is probably worse for the NFL in the long run. Give me the 49ers beating the Chiefs. I bet against the Chiefs once before just to be nice. Didn't work out too well. The Saints didn't show up, but I think the 49ers do. 49ers at home. It's not Arrowhead. Give me San Fran. So I'll join Aaron in that pick. And then we got Sunday Night Football. We got DeLuca Steelers hosting the New York Jets and newly acquired Jet, Devontae Adams. We talked about a little earlier on this week on Out of Pocket. I had Jason pick his team in that game last. When it comes to the Sunday Night Football matchup, Aaron believes Chris doesn't leave happy, and he believes the Jets, with their new acquisition, win this game. Jason, are you picking the other NY team to win on primetime?
Well, I don't want to pile on Chris right now because his Dodgers are losing 8-2. So I hate to do this to you, but it looks like the Steelers are leaning towards starting in Russ. Let Russ cook. I just don't see the Steelers doing it. The Jets are coming off a super high right now. The miracle that is miracles, Devontae is coming out of there. All of a sudden, that hamstring is perfect. He looks fantastic during practice this week. Aaron Rodgers, I think, is on an emotional high right now because he's got his baby brother back. So I think the Jets are going to take it. The Jets do have a better defense. Look, I love TJ Watt. I think he is phenomenal. The Steelers defense is really, really good, but it's not that Jets defense. That Jets defense is legit. I think they're coming off an emotional high right now, getting that trade done, and they want to put their foot on the gas because they got to catch up to Buffalo right now because they know they need to win some games because it's going to be tough to get a wild card in the AFC. So give me the Jets. I don't see the Steelers doing it. I think there's got to be a lot of dissension in the ranks right now because I know in that locker room, some guys want Fields on that field. So I think that this is going to be an issue. If Russ goes out there and starts laying an egg and looks like the Russ we saw the last couple of years, especially in Denver, you're really, really going to see some angry people in Pittsburgh. So I don't know. I'm not sold. I don't know why they chose to move Fields out because he was playing really, really well. But thank you to Pickens for breaking the wall of silence and telling us that they're going to start Russ this weekend when Tomlin was keeping his mouth shut. So thank you, Mr. Pickens, for not being able to keep quiet.
Chris, I would go off on George Pickens, but I don't want to pile on.
He's your best. He's your favorite player in the NFL, man. Come on, I know you love him.
Yeah, he's Jordan Lewis's favorite player in the NFL. Chris, how do you see your team faring on primetime and Sunday Night Football?
Well, I will first, remind the amount of rings that we have compared to the New York Jets with just their one with my terrible towel as I, ran to go get that I got at Heinz Field. With that being said, I get all of Jason's arguments with it, especially with Devontae Adams coming in and his hamstring, magically not hurting anymore. Gee, I wonder how that happens. And yeah, Aaron Rodgers is on an emotional high. He's always kind of on a high in some capacity, but I still think that defense can get it done. It's at Heinz Field. It is going to be loud. The Yinzer mob knows that we are running out of winnable games. I think that we will be able to pull out the win simply because Aaron Rodgers does not have the pocket presence he used to have. He does not have the mobility. I think that TJ Watt comes in there. He gets sacked 3 or 4 times by the Steelers defense, at least. Like I said, the secondary has been a little bit questionable, but the Jets have also lost a lot of games against teams that are good. I mean, the thing is, most of their wins are against teams that are worse, in my opinion, than the Steelers. Just the Titans is the first one I can think off the top of my head. And I think our offense will continue to struggle, but I think the Jets offense will struggle more. And I see the Pittsburgh Steelers pulling it out. And then after that, it gets really, really rough because this is an enormous win that we must get at Heinz Field. I refuse to call it by its new apparent name.
Dude, why are arenas, I know the answer is money, but I'm still going to ask it. Why are arenas doing this to us? It's Heinz Field. It's the Greensboro Coliseum.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Staples Center. Let's just go ahead and get that out of the way. These names are not changing. You can put whatever sign you want on that stadium.
It's the Meadowlands, too. New York did that, too. I miss the Meadowlands. Actually, I missed Three Rivers because that's where it was. It was the Three River converged on the Three. So, yes, you hate that corporate America has taken over these stadiums. So
it's gross. American Airlines Arena for the Heat. NBA is about to start. I'm super excited because I'm ready for basketball. We'll talk some basketball for sure on Out Pocket and Boom Broadcasting moving forward. So I took Jason's Giants because I didn't want him to be a lone wolf. Chris, with your Steelers, I hope that terrible towel is cooling you off because you might get really heated on prime time because it's going to be a close game. I do not agree with the decision to go with Russell Wilson and change what's working with Justin Fields. I really hate it that the Jets offense could all of a sudden open up with Devontae Adams being paired with Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard. You got Breece Hall in the backfield. You got Braylon Allen who can do pretty well. But for some reason, I feel like Russell Wilson might not complete this game.
Wouldn't surprise me.
I feel like they see what Russell Wilson does and they make the switch at halftime to go back.
Jack
podcast
Murphy. Jack Murphy. If you want to go way back.
By the way, podcast having fun in the comments. Quick hits. Great stuff. Dropped an episode Tuesday. Dropped an episode today as well. You want to go check that out once we're off here in a few minutes. I feel like they make the switch pretty quickly back to Justin Fields. And Mike Tomlin has never, ever had a losing season, which is absolutely wild. And the fact that the Jets have been dysfunctional, I don't know if Devontae Adams all of a sudden getting back solves the problem there. But Chris, I took Jason's team. I'm going to return the favor. I'm going to take your team, Chris. I'm not going to let you be the lone wolf.
Wow.
I'm not going to let you be the lone wolf. I could see this going either way, though.
Yeah.
Really. I could see this going either way. And the only thing I don't see going either way is your predictions winner is this boy right here. We going 7-0. 7-0 for the first time this week. So you guys can just, chill out, whatever. I'll win the predictions. I'll wear the crown. Not Chris, not Jason, not Aaron. It's going to be Michael Davis on Out Pocket next week, gloating and bragging and doing all the things. And hopefully our technical difficulties get fixed. So, laptop, you heard that. You need to do a lot better. But guys, this has been awesome. Out Pocket. Despite technical difficulties, always great to have Jason from Sideline Savants. Great to have Chris from Dugout Debrief. You guys are killing it, guys. Wednesdays at noon, Sideline Savants. Thursdays at noon, Dugout Debrief. Aaron with his Gridiron Address on Sundays before the primetime game, after the afternoon slate. And there's so much more content being produced, and there's so much more content about to be produced as well in the coming weeks ahead. But guys, Out Pocket will be back on Monday. What you can expect the rest of the day is the nightcap is back. Mouth Alpha Mike took a couple well-deserved days off, even though I told him no vacation for the next 4 years. He'll be doing the nightcap tonight after Friday Night SmackDown, and I'm going to have to catch you on the replay because I got the Duke game coming up here in just a few moments. So, gotta get out of here. Appreciate you guys so much for joining us on Out Pocket with Michael Davis today for Boom Broadcasting. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. It helps support the content creators that you see on the screen and the many others that make this possible. But guys, appreciate y'all. Can't wait to see you back here for Out Pocket on Monday.
Well, that's it. I really hope you enjoyed it. We had a ball making it. Thank you very much.